Welcome back to the Kraken Power Podcast. We're your hosts, Yoshko and Brandon, and in today's episode, we're going to be talking about fitness comebacks and why your slip-ups might be your greatest opportunities in your fitness journey. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to the Kraken Power Podcast.
The thing that everybody wants to ask right now is Brandon a robotic human who just does everything perfectly all the time?
The answer, to be completely honest with you, is yes. I'm like Mark Zuckerberg of Kraken. No, I'm completely human, or that's what a robot would say if they were trying to be human. But my life, as much as I have a persona as a personal trainer who does everything and measures all his food out and exercises multiple times per week, I like to follow more of like a 90-10 kind of rule, you know?
Yeah, totally. I agree with that as well. And yeah, although we've talked about in the past about like doing 75 hard all the time, there is no like stopping. Even in a 75 hard day challenge, like you really think that like if you make one or two slip ups that it's going to be the end of the world? The reality is it's not. That's just going to be regular life. And yeah, 90-10 is probably the way to look at it, or 80-20 for a lot of people as well. Isn't bad either. You know, 90-10 for you as Brandon, but 80-20 for a lot of people. And you know, when you should really think about reframing failure and just not looking at it as looking at it as an inevitable thing. You know, it's going to happen and you just have to accept that reality. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, is just reframing the failure, what to do, and like comeback protocols for you to be able to just bounce back as fast as possible.
Perfect consistency doesn't really exist. It's how quickly you course correct that's actually going to separate the people who transform their bodies and the ones who just end up in this endless cycle of doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's the biggest thing is having these failures turn into long periods of time where you're just self-doubt and then more sabotage and just leading you down this endless cycle of just like starting again and then stopping again, starting again and stopping again. And that really does affect you, and it's going to make your fitness journey almost impossible to commit to long term.
And I think what you just said there was the effect of people going on and off. And that's the psychology that a lot of people will follow, is this on and off mentality where they're either on a diet or they're off a diet. They're on an exercise plan, they're off an exercise plan, right? And when you think of it in such a bilateral way, like binary way, this is where you're going to fall off, because you're completely off the train, or you're only going to be able to be on it so intensely for so long before falling.
You know, the most successful people aren't the ones that are just never messing up. That's just not realistic. The people who are the most successful are the ones that figure out some sort of comeback strategy. And the comeback strategy that we recommend is this 48-hour comeback strategy that you can use as a tool for any time that you have a slip up. So the one thing that I do is, first of all, never go into like some sort of like shame cycle where you're just like, oh, why did I do that? I'm such a mess up. Like I do this every single month, you know? It's just like, that happened. Let's move on with life.
And I think one of the ways you can get out of that kind of shame cycle is never going into any kind of labeling or self-labeling, right? If you're the person who always says like, I'm always a person who falls off the train when it gets hard, or I'm always going to, reach for the snacks when I get hungry. If you stop yourself from labeling yourself as this person and you just say it's like something that you're working on, you're going to be much likelier to actually choose the habit that you're trying to aim towards.
But not only that, just understanding that it's completely 100% normal. And maybe at the beginning, when you're first starting some sort of habit or some sort of new thing in your life, there's going to be more slip-ups. And then later down the line, it's going to be easier and easier. So let's say, for example, you wanted to become a mechanic, and a mechanic, it's very complicated. You're like looking underneath the car. I'm not a mechanic. I don't know anything about cars. Like if I need to take my car for an oil change, I take it to the shop. Like I don't know anything about cars. And I look underneath the car and I'm like, holy crap, like what the hell is going on here? And I can imagine that when you're first starting out, all of that, you're going to be messing up. You're going to be dropping your wrench all the time, and you're going to be losing a part and stuff. But later down the line, once you've kind of done it for a long time, You're going to look back and think back of like dropping your wrench and losing it and stuff inside the engine as like little baby steps, but you have to overcome those baby steps of overcoming like mess ups to be able to learn how to navigate them in the future. It's like something that you can use in your toolbox later on. So yeah, just understanding like don't label it, and also just understand that it's completely normal. And that's like your first steps within those 48 hours, right? And then from there is strategizing what you're going to be doing to just work past this thing that happened.
And a lot of the time, you working back the thing that you've made a mistake from is getting back on your original plan. Or let's say you should have a plan to go in to start off with, but also you should have some kind of step that course corrects you back onto it. And a lot of the time, everyone thinks that they need to climb the highest mountain to course correct and go even further than what they were going to do on their original plan. But in reality, it's just getting back on the same step that you were going to do the next day anyways. So for example, let's say you're tracking your macros and every day you're supposed to hit 2,200 calories, right? And so maybe you go over it, you go out a night on drinking and you think, oh, next day I should eat 800 calories because I went over, 1,400 calories the night before. I'm going to go even further than that the next day to overcorrect. That is the complete wrong way to think about it.
Yeah, totally. Like it's like you messed up just now and then you're just going to make it harder for yourself. How does that even make any sense? Like you should be making it as easy as possible for yourself to like get back on track. It's like, to kind of go off your analogy, imagine if your goal was to go for a walk every single day. We talk about the benefits of doing daily walks. And then one day you didn't go for a daily walk. Are you going to double up on the walk the next day? Probably not. You're just going to start walking again the next day. Why would you put yourself through that? Like even fewer calories. So yeah, just getting back on track and just going back to what you're normally doing.
And then as soon as you get that step back into your original plan again, you start feeling good. You get that gratification again. You collect that instant win, which is just going to snowball into you getting back on track, which was the original plan in the first place.
So just so you know, like for everybody that's listening, this isn't like some comeback strategy after you've been off of fitness for like a year, like months or something, like you've been just eating Cheetos and like not working out for months. This is for people who are just messing up and like there's immediate strategies that they're supposed to do, So just understand that there is like this like 48 to 72 hour period where like you have to get back on track or else it can spiral and turn into something that ends up lasting forever,
Yeah, and the reason why we have it as a 48-hour window, because it's all relative to when that slip up happens, because a lot of people will leave certain set marks to jump back on the train again, right? They say, oh, I'll get back into it after the weekend, or I'll get back into it, in September when my kids go back to school. I'll get back into it in New Year, and you'll see these things time and time again. But these little mishaps happen all throughout the year, no matter what season of day it is, what the weather is like outside, what the events are going on in your life. So the more you can kind of give yourself that 48-hour window to mitigate whatever mistake you made and just jump back on, you'll be able to do it through any time of the year, through any instance.
At Kraken, we don't call it failure. We call it data, because that's simply what it is. We look at it as like, we're not shaming you or anything. We're looking at your mess up and just looking at it as like pure data. Like, perfect. Thank you so much. Now I know how to help you even more. And this kind of reminds me of our client, Jenny. She came in initially during her initial consultation and she was just saying like how she continuously always keeps messing up and then like falling off and then starting up again. And she was so skeptical about joining at the very beginning. But then now she's been training with us for over a year. And I mean, she doesn't talk about her mess ups anymore. She probably still messes up all the time. And yet she just keeps coming back and doing her nutrition program. Just keep doing it, keep plugging away, keep putting the time in and putting, like doing her nutrition and her weigh-ins and everything. And she's doing great now.
And the neat thing is when you look at the data of our clients, when they have mistakes or slip-ups, you'll see when they jump back on how fast they just get back right to their weight loss goal again, right? So maybe they're losing weight at a rate of like 1 pound per week, and they have a little weekend off, they slip up, they come back on their plan by Monday. It's like that little blip was, didn't even set them back more than a week. You'd be surprised. But The clients who, let that period go longer than that 48-hour time window, that's when we start to see those inconsistencies start to creep in again. And that's when a lot of their accountability and everything kind of falls off the track, and hence the results as well.
So hopefully that gives you a deeper understanding of how to come back after your fitness failures, and we'll see you in the next episode.